André Rieu, the world-famous violinist and beloved maestro, was known for his magical performances and unforgettable music. But behind the spotlight, he was also quietly building something extraordinary, an emotional and financial legacy that would leave his family in tears. After his tragic diagnosis, André revealed more than just his wealth. He shared his heart, his vision, and his final gift to the ones he loved most. In this video, we uncover the powerful story behind the fortune he left behind, the emotional reactions from his family, and the legacy that proves André Rieu's love extended far beyond the stage. 1. André Rieu's secret fortune leaves his family in tears. When André Rieu's family opened his private documents after his diagnosis, they weren't prepared for what they found. Hidden away in sealed envelopes and handwritten notes was a financial fortune, carefully built, protected, and saved over the years. But this wasn't just money. It was love, foresight, and responsibility wrapped in numbers. Rieu had quietly invested in music schools, property, and royalties that are now worth millions. But what moved his family to tears were the letters attached to each asset. In one, he wrote, "This is for my grandchildren's future concerts." In another, "Use this to fund free music education for underprivileged kids." He hadn't just secured wealth, he had planned a future full of music and compassion. His son wept, not because of the money, but because of the intention. André Rieu's legacy wasn't only about violins and concerts. It was about caring for the generations to come. The family knew he was brilliant, but discovering how deeply he thought about their future left them speechless. In silence, they cried, not out of sadness, but out of awe for a man who truly gave everything, even after his final bow. 2. The hidden wealth André Rieu built over decades. Throughout his career, André Rieu dazzled audiences with sweeping violins and majestic performances. But behind the spotlight, he was quietly building something much more powerful, a hidden fortune crafted with the same care he gave to every symphony. From international tours to exclusive recordings, Rieu's earnings were massive. But instead of spending it lavishly, he invested wisely into real estate, music academies, publishing rights, and even health programs for musicians. He rarely spoke about money, focusing instead on the art. Yet over the decades, this discipline turned into a fortune worth tens of millions. When his family uncovered the full extent of his wealth, they were overwhelmed. It wasn't just the number that shocked them, it was the thought behind every investment. Rieu had written in his private notes that music should outlive the musician, and that's exactly what his wealth was designed to do. His family couldn't hold back their tears. They realized that while the world saw André Rieu the performer, they knew André Rieu the visionary. This hidden wealth wasn't just about riches. It was a plan, a purpose, and a final encore that echoed louder than any applause. 3. How André Rieu's legacy turned into a financial treasure. André Rieu always said that his true legacy was music, but what he left behind also included a treasure chest of financial wisdom. Over the years, without much public attention, he created an empire that would continue to support not only his family, but the global music community. With a mix of passion and precision, Rieu turned his concerts into brands, his albums into timeless assets, and his musical ventures into lifelong investments. He even bought shares in music streaming services and built recording studios in multiple countries. Each move was strategic, yet always rooted in his love for music. His family only began to grasp the full picture when financial advisors revealed just how valuable his estate had become. But it was the purpose behind it that struck them most. "This money isn't mine," Rieu once wrote in a note. "It belongs to every child who dreams of playing the violin." That single sentence brought his loved ones to tears. He hadn't just left wealth, he'd left a mission. His financial treasure wasn't about being rich. It was about making sure that music and those who love it always have a future. 4. Rieu's family discovers his emotional gift after his diagnosis. After André Rieu's diagnosis, his family expected difficult moments, but nothing prepared them for the emotional gift he left behind. Inside a carefully locked drawer were letters, voice recordings, and legal documents, alongside financial instructions that revealed a legacy full of heart. He had created personalized trust funds for each family member. For his wife, he left handwritten notes attached to each year's living expense plan. For his grandchildren, there were video messages encouraging them to pursue creativity and kindness. And for his son, there was a violin, his very first one, restored and ready to pass on. But perhaps most moving was a fund titled For Future Musicians. It was a multi-million-dollar endowment designed to support music schools and scholarships in underprivileged communities. This was Rieu's emotional gift, not just money, but purpose, vision, and love. His family couldn't stop crying, not from sadness, but from realizing how deeply he had loved them and the world. Even in facing death, André Rieu thought about others first. That discovery transformed grief into pride and pain into gratitude. His emotional gift wasn't just a gesture, it was the purest form of goodbye. 5. Millions left behind. André Rieu's final act of love. They say music is the language of the soul, but André Rieu's final act of love spoke volumes without a single note. When he knew his time was limited, he began organizing his estate, not to show off his wealth, but to make sure his family and music could go on without him. He left behind millions, not in showy bank accounts, but in purpose-built trusts and causes close to his heart. He donated a significant portion to children's orchestras, funded new wings at music conservatories, and paid for medical benefits for aging musicians. His son, in a public statement, said, "My father didn't just play music, he lived it, and he gave everything to protect it." The family broke down in tears, not because they were inheriting wealth, but because that wealth was filled with meaning. André Rieu's fortune wasn't about luxury. It was a final symphony composed with generosity and foresight. A goodbye that gives, even in silence. His millions were not just numbers. They were love notes to those he left behind. And in that final act of love, he reminded the world that the richest hearts often beat behind the softest music. 6. The inheritance that revealed André Rieu's true heart. After André Rieu's diagnosis, his family had time to reflect, but nothing revealed his true heart like the inheritance he left behind. It wasn't the size of the fortune that stood out. It was the message behind every cent. Each family member received not only a portion of wealth, but also personal gifts, items full of memories, music, and love. His wife found a scrapbook from their earliest tours. His son was gifted a signed first-edition music sheet of Rieu's most beloved performance. His grandchildren received handwritten letters about following their dreams. But most powerful was the André Rieu Foundation, an initiative to fund free music classes in remote areas, supporting young talents who may never have had access to instruments. It showed the world that André Rieu's legacy wasn't just in stages and stadiums, but in hearts and homes. His family cried openly when they read the documents. It wasn't just an inheritance, it was a revelation, a message that even in his final days, Rieu thought of others. His true heart wasn't hidden in performances, it was in the quiet, loving ways he gave back, right to the very end. 7. Why André Rieu's family couldn't hold back their tears. When the full contents of André Rieu's will were finally revealed, no one expected the emotional flood that followed. The family had always known he was a loving husband, a caring father, and a brilliant musician. But what they didn't know was just how deeply he had prepared for life after him. Inside his will were instructions for more than just financial distribution. He had planned anniversaries for his wife, funded future vacations for him. This wasn't just about money. It was about memories, emotions, and legacy. Rieu's son later shared, "He thought of every detail. Even in his absence, he wanted to be present." The tears they shed weren't from sorrow alone. They were from realizing how deeply they were loved. His fortune wasn't just currency, it was composed of meaning, melody, and intention. André Rieu's family couldn't hold back their tears because in those final preparations they found a man who didn't just play from the heart, he lived from it. And through his thoughtful goodbye, he left a legacy that will echo forever. André Rieu didn't just leave behind music, he left behind memories, meaning, and a carefully built fortune rooted in love and purpose. From personal gifts to life-changing donations, his final act was a reflection of his deepest values. As his family wept over his thoughtful legacy, the world was reminded that true wealth isn't just measured in money, but in intention and heart. Thank you for watching this emotional tribute to a man whose final notes will echo forever. If this story touched you, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories and unforgettable legacies.